Hey, what's up, guys? It's Bakes here, and thank you for joining me for today's episode of my random horror reviews. First of all, today I'm rocking my Friday the 13th shirt. That's just me compensating. Is compensating the right word? I don't know. Last episode I reviewed Friday the 13th Part 2, and I said it was a big mistake that I didn't wear one of my Jason shirts for some reason, so this is me just compensating for that. I think compensating is the right word. Tell me if I'm wrong. But either way, getting back to today's review. Today we have a horror anthology from the year 2017, simply titled XX. So the gimmick with this anthology is that all four stories in this movie are directed by female directors. Now, I actually went through and checked on all these directors to see if they had done anything noteworthy before. The first director, sorry if I get any of these names wrong, because some of these directors I'm not familiar with, but we had Javanka Vakovic. She had nothing really of note. The second director was Annie Clark, and this movie pretty much was her only credit. The third director was Roxanne Benjamin, and she had some stuff under her belt. To highlight a couple, she had Southbound and There's Something Wrong with the Children. And then lastly was probably the most familiar name, being Karen Kusama, who has actually done some pretty noteworthy stuff. Just to name a few: Jennifer's Body, The Invitation, just a couple titles that are fairly popular there. Now, I had seen this movie before, but probably back in 2017 or sometime around the time this first came out. So I remembered very little about it. Actually, upon rewatch, the first two stories were very vague to me, but they were sort of coming back to me as I was watching it. But then the last two I didn't remember at all, so the last two stories were pretty fresh to me. But since this is an anthology, I won't go through all the plots now. I'll sort of go through them as we go through this review. So we might as well start, and let's get into my thoughts of 2017's XX. So the first segment in this movie was titled The Box, again directed by Jovanka Vakovic. I definitely know I'm butchering that name, sorry about that. But the plot in this one, a mum and her two kids are on this train ride back from the city, and the young son is sort of snooping around and whatever, and he's got this old guy sitting next to him with this wrapped box on his lap. And he nosily asks, what's in the box? And the mum goes, that's none of your business, be quiet, blah, blah, blah. And the old guy goes, no, you can look, it's okay. And he opens the box, and we never see what's inside. But the kid looks in, and his face just goes white, like as if he's seen a ghost or whatever. Anyway, a little bit of time goes past, and the kid just stops eating. He says he's not hungry, and he's skipping meals, not eating his lunch at school and whatever. And so much time goes past, like a week, 2 weeks, and then eventually it spreads to the daughter as well, and then other members of the family, and that's pretty much the story that we have going for the box. So firstly, the mum in this segment was fucking useless. Like, she had zero concern about her son, who had not eaten like a single thing for like weeks straight. And the husband keeps asking her what's going on and if she even cares. And it's all fair enough, because it seems like she just does not give a fuck at all. So when shit starts going south and affecting not just her son, but the rest of the family, it's hard to feel sympathetic for her, because she hadn't given a fuck during the start or middle of the story, and we're really meant to sympathize with her because she is our main character. I'm not saying that every lead or main character is meant to be sympathetic, but you can tell that's what they're going for, and it just doesn't work because she literally was useless for the majority of this story. But getting back to the story, the question's there, so what was in the box to make this happen? And that never gets answered, and to be honest, that's fine. I don't really care. I don't feel like you really need an answer. But what I don't like is that this curse, or whatever you want to call it, feels so random, and maybe that's what's scary to some people watching this story. They're going, oh fuck, it could just happen to anybody. But I feel like it would work better if a lesson was being taught. And you can't tell me that a lesson was being taught, because all the kid was doing was snooping. Yes, you shouldn't be getting in people's business on the train and whatever, but really, like, if a fucking 10-year-old kid says, what's in the box, that's not the biggest of fucking problems. Like, I have kids on my local train line fucking graffitiing and fucking starting fights and whatever, so if a kid's asking what's in the box, I don't think that's really a big lesson to be learnt. So I feel like it would have worked better, Tales of the Crypt style, do something wrong and then these are your repercussions. It just feels a little bit too random with this again, curse or whatever you want to call it. I will say what works best is seeing the kids waste away and lose so much weight. It actually is pretty freaky. But again, when as a viewer, and we have this lead who is guiding us through this story, and she is really fucking useless, uncaring, and by the end, you also just don't give a fuck because you're like, yeah, I feel bad for the kids and the family and whatever, but it's hard to feel bad for you because through 75-80% of the runtime, you were just there fucking twiddling your thumbs going, yeah, shit will be alright, shit will be alright, and it just feels very unrewarding by the end. So, yeah, it wasn't one of the stronger segments. As I said, had its moments, but not a good start for the first segment titled The Box. The second segment in this one was titled The Birthday Party, directed by Annie Clark. She was the director where this movie pretty much was her only credit. The plot for this one is a mum slash wife wakes up in the morning of her daughter's birthday party to find that her husband has died, and now she spends the morning trying to find a way to hide the body from her daughter, the maid, and the guests that are soon to arrive. So the first question from that description that you have is probably, why is she trying to hide the body? And even after having watched the segment in full, I don't know either. She just wakes up and finds him dead in his little study office room down the hall. So it feels like the obvious thing to do in that scenario is call the police or ambulance or whatever, something like that. But no, she spends the day trying to hide the body and whatever. The only thing I can think of to why she's trying to hide the body is to not ruin her daughter's birthday party, but does it really feel worth it? And all the running around and hiding the body and all these close calls ain't even exciting or funny or intense, because the whole time I'm thinking, why? Like, this whole situation can be avoided. You wake up, your husband's dead, you call the police. Yes, it's a bummer, but it fucking happened. Unless I missed something where, there's something subtle saying that she was the one to kill him, which I don't think I missed anything. The only shining light in this segment was that it stars Melanie Lewinsky, who I love. I've just grown more and more fond of her since the show Yellow Jackets. She's just really fucking good in that. She's just a really likeable actress, but it's a shame she's in such a shit story. As I said, the second segment titled The Birthday Party. The third story in this movie is titled Don't Fall. It's directed by Roxanne Benjamin. The plot for this one: four friends take this hiking slash camping trip up in these rocky canyon mountain area landscape. Picture The Hills Have Eyes, just with a little less barren vibe. Or maybe picture like Wolf Creek, where there's rocky areas, but still, I don't know why I'm so hung up on the landscape. Either way, and they find these creepy cave paintings up on this rock wall thing, where one of the girl cuts herself accidentally. Later that night, she transforms into this demon creature and starts picking off her friends one by one. This story was actually pretty alright. It felt a lot quicker compared to the previous two, probably because this one kept it simple. It wasn't trying to overdo anything with a 15 to 20 minute runtime. It was a simple creature feature segment with good effects, good creature design, just a neat setting. It just did what it needed to do, was entertaining, and wrapped it up and got out of there. I know it sounds like I'm sort of rushing through this one, but seriously, when you have a 15 to 20 minute runtime to fill, something like this is perfect. The previous two stories sort of felt like they had something bigger and better on their hands than what they actually did, when at the end of the day, a simple creature feature like this one was just way more effective for this anthology segment style of storytelling. So this one I actually really enjoyed. As I said, the third segment titled Don't Fall. Now into the fourth and final segment for this one, titled Her Only Son, directed by Karen Kusama. The plot for this one is about a single mum who has a teenage son who has now just turned 18, and something is starting to seem a little bit off about him. A matter of fact, the people around him also. I'll just keep it there because it's actually got a pretty cool reveal in it and whatever. So this one surprised me, and it probably was the most solid overall in terms of all aspects. It wasn't my personal favourite, but was very well done. My favourite thing about this story was how the mum felt like the only normal person in this story, and as more is revealed, you find out why. But just on that, the son getting away with everything, people around him sucking up to him, and she is just weirded out by everything because, as I said, she is like the only normal character in this segment, and I thought that was really cool. Just from watching this segment, you can tell that Karyn Kusama is the most experienced and accomplished director out of the lineup here, like I mentioned in the intro. She's done a lot of movies beforehand, and not just a lot of movies, a lot of notable movies as well. Like I said, technically probably the best told story in this whole movie together. Just personally wasn't my favourite, but still really, really solid. The final story, Her Only Living Son. So after going through all the segments again on this rewatch, I think I know why I didn't remember this movie very well. It's because it's not very good and it's honestly quite forgettable. I actually find it weird that the two first stories, which are the weaker ones, I remembered fairly well, and then the last two stories, which are actually better, I completely forgot about. I thought that was weird. Even the stronger segments maybe just feel stronger because they're being compared to really weak ones, if that makes sense. If I was to rank the stories from my favourite to least favourite, I'd probably go Don't Fall, which was the third segment. That was probably my favourite. Her Only Living Son, the closer, was probably my second favourite. The Box, which was the opening story, I'd have it third. And then The Birthday Party comes in last, which was the second story. What was up with each segment having two title cards? It's almost like the segments were edited and prepared themselves, and then when they were given to the movie to overall edit, they were given another title card. That was just really fucking weird. Like, it would open with The Box, and you'd be like, okay. And then another title card would come up, The Box. And then sometimes they had a closing one as well. It's like, what the fuck is up with all these title cards? I know what the story's called. So I've reviewed anthologies before on my channel, and you guys know how I am with anthologies and needing wraparounds in them, just a story that ties them all together. This one technically does have a wraparound, but it's nothing of note at all. It's just this creepy stop-motion dollhouse crawling around on its own. It doesn't really make up much of a story. I just feel like it's there to have a wraparound and to have something that is a little bit creepy and boost up the horror aspect, so that's why I didn't really give it its own segment to rank, but yeah, the wraparound is just not noteworthy at all. So definitely a weaker anthology overall. I like the idea of it, have all these female directors together, just make the most of it. I feel like still there are a lot of people that will be like a female director. I don't know why, but I feel like that is the case with some people I talk to. It's just unfortunate that this anthology overall isn't very good. Like I said, it picks up in the back half. The last two stories are actually not too bad, but overall, maybe it's just because it's being compared to the first half, which is very weak. So for my overall rating for XX from 2017, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. Yeah. If you've seen XX and you have a different opinion, maybe you liked it more, let me know your thoughts of it in the comments below. Or maybe you liked it less. Feel free to trash it. I don't know. I don't really love trashing movies. Like, obviously, all these directors and actors and everything put a lot of work into it. It's just unfortunate. I feel like, the first two definitely, they were just trying to do something a little bit bigger and a little bit more than what they really needed to. The third one, Don't Fall, the one that I really liked, creature feature, in, out, good job. And then the last one probably was technically the best story, just personally I liked the Don't Fall creature feature one more. But either way, thank you for joining me for this review, guys. I always appreciate it. All the support you give, whether it's a comment, a like, subscribe, definitely. I appreciate them probably most of all. I love watching the channel grow. But thank you for joining me for this review, guys, and I'll see you for another episode soon. Peace.